Hello, I'm Eileen McHugh with the BBC News. Hawaiian volunteers helping communities recover from deadly wildfires have appealed for more federal aid. Locally organised relief operations have intensified on the island of Maui. They're trying to supply food, water and shelter for survivors of the blaze in Lahaina, Hawaii's ancient capital. At least 93 people are now known to have been killed in what's become the United States' worst wildfire disaster for 100 years. Jill Tokuda is a congresswoman for Hawaii, which includes Maui. She told the BBC that all efforts needed to be focused on rebuilding islanders' lives.
People feel that they need access to food, water, shelter, and this is not just in the short term, this is the long term. They need to be reunited with their loved ones. They need to know what happened. We need to focus a lot of this energy coming out, both the grief and the anger, towards really making sure that we help those that are suffering right now in our communities.
Troops have been deployed to Canada's remote far north to help try to contain hundreds of out-of-control wildfires. Several communities in the Northwest Territories are under evacuation orders. The Defence Minister said they'd help with firefighting efforts, transport and coordination. Ukrainian officials have accused Russia of violating international maritime law after Moscow said the Russian Navy had forcibly searched a cargo vessel in the Black Sea. Ukraine's Minister of Infrastructure said he couldn't confirm the Russian account, but accused Moscow of trying to intimidate and obstruct commercial shipping. Danny Eberhard reports.
Ukraine hopes to find ways of bypassing a de facto maritime blockade since Russia pulled out of the Black Sea grain deal. This incident apparently took place off the Turkish coast, and Turkish officials say they're investigating. Russia has warned it will treat ships heading to Ukraine as potentially carrying military supplies. It said this vessel, once searched, was allowed to continue its journey towards the Ukrainian Danube port of Ismail. It's currently off Bulgaria, and a maritime tracking website lists its destination as a Romanian Danube port.
A delegation of Muslim scholars from Nigeria says the leaders of last month's military coup in Niger are willing to solve the crisis through dialogue, not force. The clerics who are visiting Niger's capital, Niamey, said the head of the new military government had told them the door remained open for diplomatic efforts. Here's Richard Hamilton.
Ostensibly, this visit and promises by the military junta of being open to dialogue seem positive. After all, it's rare that outsiders manage to speak to them. Last Tuesday, the coup leaders denied access to another international delegation, saying their safety could not be guaranteed. But in reality, this latest move may just be gamesmanship by the junta, so that if it comes to war, they can portray themselves as the victims.
World News from the BBC. Polls have closed in a primary election in Argentina to select candidates for October's presidential election, as the South American country grapples with high inflation and cost of living crisis. More than 35 million Argentines were eligible to vote in the mandatory ballot, which also decides which parties will take part in the general election. Voters were expected to shift to the right, punishing the governing centre-left Peronist coalition. Local media in the Ethiopian region of Amhara has reported that an Ethiopian army drone has bombed protesters, killing at least 70 people. Airstrikes reportedly hit the demonstrators who'd gathered in the town of Finote Salam in protest against plans by federal forces to enter the town. The army and a militia group have been involved in heavy clashes across the Amhara region in recent weeks. Reports in the Iranian media say that at least 4 people have been killed in an attack on the Shah Shirah shrine in Shiraz. 2 of them were people reportedly working at the place. Here's Sebastian Usher.
It's unclear for now who carried out the attack and what their motive was. The shrine complex has been cordoned off and shops in the surrounding area closed. Last October, 13 people, including children, were killed and dozens more wounded in an attack on the shrine. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for that attack. The authorities said that the gunman died of his injuries after being arrested. 2 men were hanged last month in a street near the shrine for their alleged involvement.
A 13-year-old boy has survived a 30-metre fall from a ledge at the Grand Canyon in the U.S. state of Arizona. Rescuers worked for 2 hours to retrieve Wyatt Kaufman, who'd slipped off a cliff while on a trail. He later said he'd moved out of the way to allow others to take photos and had then lost his grip on a rock. BBC News.